I love Audi, as everyone should, despite despite his open hatred of one of my favourite games of all time, Metal Gear Solid 4. Are there any games for the rest of the DF crew that cause their chalice of hate to overspill as MGS4 does for Audi? I'm going to go to you for this one, John, first.
Oh man, that's a tricky one.
I guess it's games you love to hate.
I have to admit, I've used the recent open world Assassin's Creed as kind of whipping boys for everything that's wrong with open world game design, which is perhaps a little harsh because they're actually well made. It's just I don't like the decisions they made there. But it's other stuff like, I guess, oh man, I really don't like. I hate to say it, but I'm not a fan of Fortnite.
Yeah.
Just whispering that, again, the thing is though, with games like that is that you look at them and they're actually very well made, right? Like, so I can't critique that too much. There's really good stuff in there. It's not really for me. So the thing I would say that I would actually have been open about that I dislike isn't even a game. It's streaming.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't love to hate it, do you? This isn't. You just hate it.
Well, yeah. There you go. I just hate it. Exactly.
That's kind of. I think that's the distinction here, because I think Audi just genuinely likes hating Metal Gear Solid 4.
One I love to hate is Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
It's funny because people love the heck out of that series, and I really don't love it. I think it's well made again, but I think it's funny to kind of rib on that one.
Alex, games you love to hate.
This one's hard because I'm not a very hate-filled person in general. So it's I don't hate games. I mean, I've played games before where I pick them up and I'm just like, nope, that's definitely not for me. I guess there's one thing I dislike is gaming trends. So there was a trend at like the end of the Xbox 360 PS3 generation to like overly tutorialize games and overly like lean so heavily on film as like the main like design implementation. So you saw tons of stupid as heck QuickTime events. I mean, Resident Evil 4 was very interesting with its QuickTime events when it came out, but then, there's such a proliferation of that. So a lot of games from that time period where you just like play them and it's just like cutscene, overly scripted set piece, QuickTime event, respawning enemy corridor. Like there's just tons of games from that era which all have, like they just use all these tropes and they abuse them to heck, where people talk about them being some of their favorite games from that time period. I just go like, wow, this is not my game design at all. I don't want to name names because, every game series during that time period probably did this to a certain degree, but I just don't like that design at all. I tend to like games that offer a little bit more freeform choice for the user and something else. So stuff from like the late PS3, Xbox 360 to like the beginning of like the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 gen, I think it aged rather poorly in a lot of ways. So I don't hate it though. I wouldn't ever play it.
Well, I don't really know where to begin with this one because it's a bit like asking Emperor Palpatine if he loves to hate anything. He just hates everything.
He just hates it all.
And, from my perspective, titles that sort of just spring to mind. Again, MGS4, I don't have any time for it, really. I just can't be bothered with it. Final Fantasy VII, a lot of people seem to really like that one. I dislike games where I have to, where I'm forced to watch more than I'm actually playing. That seemed to be one of the
that's
takeaways.
not true. Final Fantasy VII.
Well, it is to begin with, and it just put me off. And what else? Games. If we're talking about general trends, Crysis 3 is one of my favorite games, right? But it has one thing that I despise: an unskippable cutscene at the beginning. Unskippable cutscenes, I just can't be doing with it. And I've just been looking at, obviously, Crysis 3 for the Crysis 3. The Crysis Trilogy remastered, and I've looked at Crysis 3 on 7 consoles, so I've had to go through that unskippable cutscene 7 times.
There's a game that plagues to the point of making it unplayable years later, and that's Max Payne 3. If anyone actually wants to play Max Payne 3 now, you have to sit through so many cutscenes you've seen before, and there's no way to skip them, as far as I know. And that, of course, it has like Rock Star Club attached to it, so it's also a pain in the ass to even get running these days.
Yeah, another one is Criterion's Black, which is like this glorious action game, but it's got this really convoluted plot that is presented with a series of cutscenes that you can't skip past. So you've got this glorious arcade action game, but then you've got to it's literally you've got to sit through an interrogation, because it's like a debriefing / interrogation, and you've got to sit through it, which I find quite amusing.
Richard, tell me you don't love to hate Bug for the Sega Saturn.
Again,
Bug.
you know, it's like asking Palpatine if he loves to hate the Jedi. He just hates them.
How do you feel about writing Bug with the correct exclamation point after the title Bug?
Yeah, you know,
Bug!
any game that tells me how it needs to be written is an instant fail, in my opinion. You know, for example, Rage being all capitals. You know.
Oh yeah.
Why it doesn't stand for anything? Why does it have to be all capitals?
There's one thing that actually bothers me about games sometimes is inconsistent usage of semicolons or subtitles of games. So usually before I'm writing down it, like making a video, I always Google the name and look how they specifically write it out, and it surprises you. The inconsistency, like in the Metro series, it's very inconsistent. It's also, I think I want to say all the Far Cry games have a very inconsistent subtitling for their expansion packs. It's like, just write things out as it's spoken, please.
Yeah, well, I was looking at Call of Duty Black Ops, actually. It's
Black Ops Cold War.
Call of Duty registration mark, Black Ops Cold War. And
oh my
yeah,
God.
That just pretty much sums it up, really. Any more sort of love to hate tropes in video games or games in general that we want to bring up here? Or, you know, I'm kind of, if you want to be consumed with hatred, now's the time to get it out in the open, I reckon.
I would also probably say games that default when you go into an open world to having like question marks everywhere across a minimap or on the map itself. It just absolutely destroys the feeling of entering a new and foreign place, because it's like, you know, that's where the content is. I think it's much more enjoyable to randomly stumble on content by default, and then maybe if you're a person that doesn't like it, then to turn on the question marks.
Actually, I have just had a bit of a revelation here. I love to hate any game I play on Xbox that Alex has played before me on the same account.
Oh yeah.
Because you just ruin the camera controls on every single game. And it's like, Alex! No!
I noticed I was watching some footage John recorded for me recently, and as he sent it to me, I look at him starting the game up and then immediately going into the menu and changing it from inverted to normal default. I laughed so hard when I saw that.
To be clear here, for anybody that hasn't watched DF Direct before, Alex always has inverted Y-axis analog controls. And it gets me every single time. You know, you log into the same account.
It's that footage I sent to you, Alex. I think that you probably see me like look up or down first all the way, and then pause, go to the menu, turn that off, and then play.
So yeah, I love to hate any game that Alex has played before me on the same Xbox account. I think that's a good call.